So what
it felt good now.
Once you guys made it down behind Russian lines, where did the process take you after that?
Oh, that same truck took us to the mess hall. We went right took it to get something to eat. We were being fed within, what long was it? 45 minutes?
I don't remember that. It's just one of those things.
Yeah.
I had to, I had an aerial camera with me to take whatever I felt was interesting. And so one of the things I did is proceed to open up that aerial camera and expose the film so whoever was around, they wouldn't be able to see our airfield in Italy and where we came from. But it really didn't make any difference. Now, these were Russians that were still in combat with the Germans outside of Berlin. And so they were real nice to us. We could do pretty much whatever we wanted to in that base. And this was quite something. We could go down and talk to the Poles without a Russian being with us and get some idea, well, how are they getting food? And they said, well, the Russians put out big lists of foods that they were supposed to get, but they never got them. And said the Germans put out lists. They weren't the big lists, but they got the food. And so they weren't exactly happy with the Russians, but we didn't feel we could speak that to the Russians because it might get back to, they would count down on the Poles. One of the things I noticed is for bunks, place to sleep, they went into a Pole's house and said, "You're out, we need this room." And they would put us in there, and I thought it was a sin and a shame that they did this on old, most of the people there were old and didn't have too much and get thrown out in March. It's still cold, and here they were, and the Americans were longer than the beds, and some of them kicked the foot bed out. It was a nice paneled foot there, but to stretch out, they kicked out the bottom, and I thought that was kind of bad, but we couldn't do anything about it. We were there about a week, and then a C-47 came up from Poltava in the Ukraine, which was a big shuttle base from England to pick us up. And I thought it was an American crew flying the plane, but it had a Russian navigator to be able to tell the pilot, you go around this place because we don't not because we don't want you to see it, you just go around this place and back to Poltava. And we got back to Poltava, and then we began to run into the political ends of the Russians, and they were very close about who we could talk to. They didn't particularly care for us walking around town. I went down just looking around, and I ran into a low building that looked just like a garage, flat roof, just one story, and there were windows in the side of the building, and just looking to see what was there. And suddenly I come in to one window, and here's a little Russian teddy bear. I mean, it was a child's toy. And I said, that would be nice to take back as a souvenir. So first door that I came to, I opened the door and walked in, and then by charades and whatnot else and waving hands, got the idea across I wanted to buy that bear. And reached into my pocket and took out my Blue Seal money, American money, to pay for the bear. Oh no, they couldn't take that because they'd got caught with American money. That was a quick trip to Siberia, but they gave me the bear. I still have that bear, as that was 60-some years ago, and my kids, thou shalt not touch Dad's bear, period. And
How did you end up getting home then?
Well, he don't remember this, but I remember it so well. Maybe he wasn't along. In this home where we were in Poland, all at once, about the third day or some fourth day or something, these girls, here a whole bunch of girls had come. And they, of course, the language we didn't know it. We could communicate a little. But they got, well, one of them took me with one arm, one the other. These girls, they took a bunch of us over to this building.
it was asked me along.
Yeah. And they took us up. It was an old brick building, I think it's about 3 stories. We went about the second story, and they had some stuff like bologna or stuff like that, and had some cookies and different things. But there was one, these girls were nice. They were nice, and they were, except one, and she was about half drunk, and she had gold teeth, a whole mouthful of them, and she wanted to kiss me. I kissed that girl, I guess, a dozen times. Oh, God. Hey, what are you going to do? And so, but if it had been them other girls, they wouldn't have bothered me.
That was about Poltava, wasn't it?
Yeah.
All right. We were in
But
university
one of the things we
buildings
didn't tell you was these P-51s, boy, listen, they look good. They were black pilots. They, one's on one wingtip, one the other. And they were there to defend us. And we didn't have anything to fight with. And but anyway, we got down in Poltava, and we were down there for quite a while. We was down there about a month, I guess. And then one day they loaded us on. They flew us to Tehran in Iran. And we were there a few days, and then we flew to Cairo. They flew us to Cairo. And from there, we flew to
Benghazi.
Yeah, and then from there, we flew back to Naples. And, of course, when I got back, my pilot that I trained went overseas with was in hospital down at Beret with his foot almost shot off. And my co-pilot that I trained went over with had died in a crash. And so I was there. The operations officer adopted me and the radio operator. And I flew with him, and we flew back and forth from Foggia to Naples and hauled passengers and mail and different things. And so I was there until in September, and I got a call over the loudspeaker one day to report to the commanding officer. And I went and reported, and he told me, "You're going to be leaving for home in a couple of days. And your co-pilot will be here tomorrow, and you're going to check the 17 out." So we flew home. We flew we went down to Naples, and from Naples we flew to Dakar in Senegal, and from there to Natal, Brazil, and from there to British Guiana, and there to Puerto Rico, and then to West Palm Beach. Planes were taking off, but you had to cross the runway, and there's a whole bunch of them lined up over here. I don't know where he'd been a POW or not. He might have been, I don't know. But anyway, as we come down and called to get permission to cross the runway, they said, "Taxi down the runway and for an immediate takeoff." And they'll all those planes up. We come turned around and took off. So that's why you got a lieutenant colonel. Helps a lot. Yeah.
Well, I'm about ready to run out of tape here,
Yeah,
so I want
all
to
right,
thank
yeah.
you guys. It was wonderful hearing
Wow,
your
now.
story.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.